with me since, 2006, something like that, Gary?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Back when you guys were 12 years old, huh?
That's right, yeah. Right, so I've got, I'll just send the link out for the live stream. We've got a live stream of the audio recording, but basically what we do is we do this now and then I clean it up and edit it and it goes out on the show on Thursday.
Okay.
Right, so I'll just send this link out and then I'm sure we're ready.
Do we need to do anything with that?
No, I can do everything from here. It's, but I'll tweet that you're in the Plex, isn't it? So, send this out.
I have to learn to type faster, Ian.
Oh yeah. Well, we do this every week, and there's like 15 manual steps every week, and I think one day I'll work out a way of doing all this nice and automated. Okay, right. I think that's working, so we can make a start. Right. So now I'll get the name right here. So Scott Olachowski, is that right?
Olachowski.
Close.
But I don't care. I'm not going to be upset either way.
And Scott Hancock, that's easier to say. Right, Scott and Scotland, welcome to the Digital Lifestyle Show.
Thanks for having us. Thanks.
And Scott, we were talking Plex sort of last week, and it was because of the announcement of the Xbox One app. So I wanted to talk a bit more about Plex, the Xbox One app, but go into some of the detail about Plex and sort of got the background on it. And our listeners are very media savvy and got their own media collections, and it fits in very nicely with the kind of things they do. So Scott Olachowski then first. So Scott, just you're co-founder of Plex?
Correct.
So take us back to the beginning. What is Plex and when did it start?
So good question. We've been at this for quite some time, back since almost 2009. Originally started off working within the XBMC project, the Xbox Media Center project, working on the port to OS 10. And after some time, we decided to go off on our own. And at that point in time, we decided that it wasn't going to be a heavy client model in the future, but instead we wanted to have a central component, what ended up becoming the Plex Media Server, that could organize all of your personal media, whether it's movies or TV shows or music or photos, whatever you happen to have, and then help you access that on any of your devices, whether you're in the home or outside the home, no matter where you are or what that device happens to be. We wanted you to be able to have this first-class experience on that device, accessing all the content that our system helped you organize. And that meant beginning development on a bunch of different applications, iOS and Android. We now have, a Windows 8 app and a Windows Phone 8 app. We have a really, really popular Roku client. It's a DLNA server. We have a Chromecast app. We have a Samsung TV app. We've got clients for Mac and Windows and Linux. We have a really nice web UI for the system as well. And as you mentioned, we have this new Xbox One client and Xbox 360 coming soon.
Yeah, I mean that's what the thing that's sort of impressed me. I've been keeping up with Plex for the past few years, but recently started to use it quite a bit. And it's the fact that what I like about it is that you can really, whatever device I pick up, I can then consume my media, whether I'm in the home or out of the home. And I guess it all starts with the server. That's the sort of the core of it.
Yeah, that's correct. We needed something that could help you centralize and provide access to all that content in one place. It needed to be powerful enough to be able to help you organize it and then transcode to some of these devices that don't have support for maybe some of the media formats that you have. Or if you're outside of the home, you might have a bandwidth issue if you're on 3G or 4G. You're not necessarily going to be able to stream some high def content there. So we'll need to transcode that content and make it accessible for either format or bitrate purposes. So yeah, that server, the Plex Media Server itself, is kind of the heart and lung of a lot of what we do.
So you start off. So what kind of content are we talking about here? Pictures, movies, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So our focus is personal media content. So photos, music, and video. And for video, there's kind of two different classes. There might be content that you've maybe DVR'd or ripped off of DVDs or whatever, and that content will actually go and gather beautiful metadata for that from a number of different sources. Same thing for music. For your personal content, the photos and the home videos, those we give you the ability to actually edit your own metadata and make it look really nice.
Mm. Now, one thing I found on this installing the server is it's very simple to get going. It's just a quick download and it just goes off and configured itself, and I didn't really have to do very much to get it going.
I like to hear that. That's a very positive thing to hear. I mean, it's certainly gotten better over the years, and we have areas that we can certainly improve on. But we're trying to get it to the point where you can download this on just about any system, whether you're running Windows or Mac or Linux, or we have packages for many of the most popular consumer NAS devices that are out there, like Synology and QNAP and Drobo and Thecus and a bunch of others. So we're trying to get it to the point where normal mere mortals can actually get it up and running quickly and have some fun with it.
Right. So that's important to say that you don't have to set a dedicated Linux server up to run this. You can put it on a device in your home. Yep.
That's one of the reasons why we've worked so hard to work with these NAS vendors to try to get the system available on their devices. So it is pretty simple. I mean, on a lot of them, it's a one-click install, and then the package will get up and running, and you go from there. We have a challenge where some of the lower-powered devices, it doesn't give you all the full transcoding capabilities, but with certain clients, it still works really, really well.
I mean, this is one of the things that we've discussed many times on the show is what you do with your own media collection. We have home servers and Windows servers and things like that, but then sometimes that's overkill for some people. So a simple NAS device is actually, it sounds a good idea.
Yeah, and a lot of those NAS devices give you the ability to not only have a bunch of storage, but also have safer storage with some kind of RAID going on or whatever. So it's a good safe way to centralize and store your home videos and photos and other precious media assets that you have.
But I've got it installing on a Windows Home server actually here, a VideoBox server, and that's got the auto ripping built into it as part of the OS. So you just stick a DVD in or a Blu-ray, it goes off, processes it, converts it to MP4, and then it's available for me to watch. And the whole thing is so seamless. It's really nice. It's just 20 minutes or whatever, and I can watch whatever I've just put in the drive.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, there's that, you can do the same thing with CDs and stuff if you still have those, or, just download your music to them and upload your photos in there and all that. We have a feature on our mobile clients that actually allow you to automatically upload your photos and stuff like that right back to your media server as well, providing kind of this constant backup of all of your memories and photos that you've made on the go back, centralized back at your house. So you can delete, off your phone confidently, and you can share from your home media server to your friends and family.
Yeah, it works. It works really well. I was given a box set of Miami Vice DVDs a while ago, and I sort of never got around to watching them. So I've been diligently going through, putting the discs in one after another, all 5 series to watch now. So I'm looking forward to watching them, because it's finally given me that impetus to get it going there. So.
Let us know how that goes. I haven't seen that show in a long time.
neither have I, but I'm getting my Miami Vice jacket out to watch it. But that's what it's great for. I mean, it, like you said, you put your content there and it downloads the metadata. Go ahead, Gary.
I was just going to say, on the client front, so you mentioned Samsung TV, and because I'm a developer anyway myself, that must have been quite challenging to actually get that developed. And were you having to work with Samsung on that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's actually been in the works for quite some time. So there were some developers in Amsterdam and Germany that had started on the project, and we reached out to them. We worked with them. And then we reached out and started working with Samsung on it, and together over time we were able to get the app, to where it is today, which is, one of the top. We're a top tier Samsung partner when it comes to the smart TV apps, and we have some other stuff in the works there. But yeah, it was a lot of work. it's a platform that's got some really, really great capabilities. They've done a lot of, we've been on it. We go back on so many devices that there's a lot of nooks and crannies that we've had to deal with. And I think right now it's at a pretty good place.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I think that's from my point of view, the really exciting thing is the number of clients you've got. You seem to have them for virtually everything.
Yeah, that's the idea. We don't want any stone left unturned.
Power, yeah, and that's a real power of the system. Obviously, the more you can go cross-platform integration, the easier it is to actually use it on everything. So, is there any platform you haven't quite reached yet, or you'd like to? I know we obviously talk about the Xbox in a minute, but is there anything out there which you really would like to be on, but you haven't actually managed to be on yet?
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff. We have some stuff in the works that we can't talk about yet. So there's certainly some places that we're really, really keen to get on and hope to be there by the end of the year. So kind of stay tuned for some cool news on that. Probably the one place that we'd really like to have a first class experience and we just haven't been invited on yet is on the Apple TV. So you can use AirPlay, and there's also some really cool little third-party apps, like I think one's called Plex Connect or something like that let you do it. But we'd really like to, have an official app on there. So if you know anyone, put in a good word for us.
Yeah, I know the Connect one. I think it's kind of I think we talked about on the show last year, whenever it was, that it's kind of fools the Apple TV into playing the content or something. It's a bit of a tricky workaround, but it does work.
Yeah, it's actually pretty clever what those guys did. It actually, you point your DNS at your media server, and instead it basically changes the DNS for one of the apps. I think it's the Apple Movie Trailer app, and then returns the Plex stuff instead of Apple Movie Trailer, and the box is none the wiser. So it's a clever little hack, but it's not something that is for the everyman, and certainly something that Apple could possibly turn off at any time.
The thing I like about talking about the apps is sort of the apps seem to reflect the platform that they're running on. They've still got the sort of the Plex theme and the Plex look, but they seem to be right for that device. If that OS, if you know what I mean.
That's actually something that we put a lot of time into that, right? And that's, I think, one of the interesting things that we do put a lot of energy and resource into is trying to feel like it's native on the platform. So our Android app and our upcoming Android TV app and our Xbox app, they feel like other apps on the platform. And it's not easy necessarily to do that because it requires us to really kind of understand each platform and all that. But at the same time, I personally think it provides a much better experience when you're using that device, because the odds are you're probably not using Plex for absolutely everything. You may be using some other apps on the platform. So why make it feel like its own universe? Make it complement, what's going on there. Is the attitude we've taken.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the things I think recently it was bugged me with Netflix is they sort of gone to this single user interface, but the experience on the Xbox was really downgraded because they went for a lower sort of res look and feel to it, and it just wasn't. The previous app was really nice, a dedicated sort of Xbox One look, and they sort of downgraded it. And I like the fact that with Plex, it's right for the devices.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to try to offer that Plex experience, but it being platform native when the platform has strong conventions. Some of the platforms don't, right? So we'll bring our own convention, but when there are really strong platform UX UI conventions, we'll try to conform.
Now, so we should say some of the playback features then. So you've got the server set up, and then you've got this range of devices that you can then watch the content on. But it's not just streaming the content, it's actually sort of intelligent. It does things like knows where you're up to on a particular show.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different things that we're doing there. So you have the ability, both within the Plex client ecosystem, most of them, not necessarily all of them yet, but over time, hopefully all of them, the ability to fling stuff across your apps. So I might be using an Android tablet, and I want to fling it over to my Chromecast. We have first class Chromecast support. And I want to fling it over to another Android device or and even an iOS device or whatever, a Plex Home Theater running on a Linux device. So the ability to kind of fling stuff around is something that we've baked into the entire ecosystem that we have. So that's important. And then it's not just a one-way street. It's not fling and forget. Almost all the apps have the ability to create a channel that lets us know exactly where you are in a particular program. So there is this kind of two-way thing going on. You can control what's on the screen, but that screen is also telling you where it is and what's being played, which opens up a bunch of interesting possibilities down the road for companion experience.
Because I like the idea of being able to say, watch a movie on my Xbox One, and then didn't get a chance to finish it, so I'll finish it later on the Surface.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's built into the server itself. The server knows exactly what you've watched. So it's not we will mark things watched or unwatched, so we can try to intelligently bring stuff forward that you might want to watch next, maybe the next episode of a series that you're watching. Or as you just said, you're in the middle of something and you want to resume it at some point. How do I do that? And the server knows, hey, you're halfway through this. You may want to continue watching this.
Yeah. And that's what I really like about the experience of having sort of the multiple clients.
Yep.
And there's other stuff as well, isn't there? There's like you can then stream. So we can sort of imagine that you're in your home and you stream from your server, which is also in your home, but you don't have to be within the same sort of physical network, do you, to stream your content?
Yep. I mean, the ability to, the system will know, which servers are local, which are remote, and it'll actually adapt the bandwidth, the bandwidth requirements and transcode if needed based on that as well. So the idea is, I think if you zoom out, what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to give you a Netflix-like experience, on any platform for your personal media.
Yeah.
That's kind of the high level view. So, you kind of take that, like, what are the things that I need to do to make that happen? And hey, when I'm remote, it works just as well as if I'm local, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of requirements that end up kind of coming out of that. But, I think we're making some pretty good progress against them.
Yeah, but you don't have to set up sort of special port forwarding or open routes up on your router or anything. I just signed in and I could start playing it. I installed the app on a machine in the office, and I could start playing stuff off my server here at home.
That's awesome. We do try to do all of that port forwarding and all that stuff automatically for you. It doesn't always work. So, sometimes people do need to go futz with their routers, and in some cases, people just can't figure it out. So we have some stuff in the works to help with that, but we're not ready to quite talk about that yet.
Well, it worked fine for me.
Good. I hope there's more people like you.
In fact,
there's some decent number of folks that run into issues around that, so we definitely want to help them.
Yeah, sure. Everybody's router is slightly different, or their home network is slightly different. So I guess, but I suppose the people with more complex networks that have been tinkering with themselves are more able to then sort it out anyway.
Right.
But funny you mentioned the sort of Netflix experience. That's exactly what I was thinking. I think I might even said it on the video that I put up yesterday. Is that it now presents me? So if I'm sat, in a hotel with my Surface, I've got that sort of Netflix experience, but of my own content, all present there. And I think that's exactly what I was thinking. Is just that it just works. It's just there, and it's nice and simple. But you've got quite a lot of functionality behind it.
Right.
Now, there was some other stuff as well, isn't there? That it's not just sort of even media stored. Haven't you got some cloud sort of syncing, cloud storage options? Yeah,
if you look at what we've done from a business and product perspective, we're trying to give people the server itself is freely downloadable. So you can go grab the server, and there's a number of apps that are free. You can use it on the web for free. Plex Home Theater is free. Some of the apps actually cost real cash, but they're pretty affordably priced. But we have introduced something called the Plex Pass, and the Plex Pass is our subscription service that adds premium features. And you just touched on one of them, and that is the ability to sync content. So a few years ago, one of the most requested features was the ability to take this beautifully organized library and then take it with you to go, right? I've got a flight or a train ride, or I don't want to use my wireless bandwidth and pay for that. I want to just get this content with me to go. So we added the ability to sync content. If you have a Plex Pass that is as a premium feature, sync that content to your iOS device, your Android device, your Windows phone or whatever and take it with you. So that's a feature that's been around for a while and has been very, very popular. The extension of that was our cloud sync capability. So there's a couple different reasons why you might use this, but what it ultimately lets you do is sync selected content up to your cloud provider of choice. So we support things like Google Drive and Dropbox and Box and a handful of others. And you can then choose to sync your music up there, videos up there, etc. And you can then shut down your media server. Maybe you don't have it exposed to the internet, or maybe you have lousy upload bandwidth where you don't get a great streaming experience. You can go on the road and stream directly from Google Drive or Dropbox to your device using your storage and that bandwidth, as opposed to trying to serve it up from your house. So that's actually a pretty popular feature as well. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility around where you might want to store and access that content from.
Yeah, that's a nice idea. So theoretically, is it possible to do that without even a service portion? Just have your sort of your Plex account, and then, or do you still need a server to that content to be mirrored with?
You need the Plex server to actually organize and then get the content pushed to the cloud. But after that, you can turn off your Plex server.
Right.
Once it's up in cloud synced, you don't need to have an always on Plex server. So we know people who are definitely loading up their music up in there and photos and some movies, and they don't necessarily leave their Plex server running all the time.
Yeah. And the other, you mentioned before, another feature that's something that we've used here for a while is DLNA support. You've got that built in.
What don't we have? Yeah, so it's a really powerful DLNA server as well, the Plex Media server. We found a little lacking in a lot of the other DLNA servers that are out there are their media organization and metadata capabilities. So yeah, typically you'll just end up with like a Windows Explorer like list of files, and hopefully it'll stream on that device. What we did is we kind of took all of the awesome metadata capabilities and organization stuff that we provide, keeping track of what you watched, what you haven't watched, what you're in the middle of watching, organizing stuff by genre, etc., and expose that via DLNA, also backed up by a very powerful media transcoder. So if you have a device that may not be able to play certain formats or has problems with certain levels of H.264 or codecs or whatever, we actually probably can get it playing on that DLNA device and give you a great, if that device, that client, exposes any of the metadata assets, hopefully we'll be able to expose those as well. But in worst case, you have a great way to explore the content and get around. So yeah, we feel like it's probably one of the better DLNA servers as well. Yeah,
and I think DLNA is nice, but as we're sort of discovering, really, you can't beat a dedicated client, and that's now what you've got on the Xbox One.
Yes, sir.
So when this was announced, we were quite surprised, weren't we, Gary, that this could ever happen. It's something we want to see third-party media apps on the Xbox One, but we were very surprised that you managed to make this happen. So what's the story behind that?
I think Microsoft's trying to open up the platform a bit, and make it easier for folks to develop on and provide, a framework for people to do that with. I don't want to speak to their plans, but it certainly feels like, that's the direction they're heading. But in this particular case, more importantly, there was a gentleman at Microsoft who was just a big Plex diehard user that really wanted to see Plex on the Xbox. And he, quite honestly, personally just, made it happen, pushed it forward, worked with us, worked with the team there, and helped make it happen. And we find that at a lot of organizations that we work with, that a lot of the folks that are working on these media devices or media platforms tend to also be, pretty hardcore Plex users. So it's helped us, in many a place, not just with the Xbox.
Before your app, really, the Xbox One was it's a great games console, and for entertainment, which Microsoft originally sold it as, it was this all-in-one device. We found it pretty limiting if you had your own media collection. It was great if you were using Netflix or Xbox Video, but when you've got your own collection, it was pretty limited. And then they had the media app, which is sort of in beta at the moment, but that's DLNA client, and it's pretty basic. But what you've got there is this full user interface, and it's made a massive difference to sort of what you can use the Xbox for as a media enthusiast.
We could not agree more. To me, it kind of completes the platform, right?
Yeah, because now I've got the one Xbox that's got cloud storage. I've got Netflix content, but I've also got all my own library and a big collection of Miami Vice to watch.
Yeah, well, and maybe pictures of your family and photos of, or videos of stuff you've done with your kids. How do you get that stuff on there without, jumping through hoops? It's not right. I feel like that content is just, if not more important to us in our lives.
Yeah, and I think it's something we talked about, I think, and it's been talked about for anybody with media devices, is the spousal acceptance factor or wife acceptance factor. I don't want to sound patronizing, but many of us enthusiasts have got these complex systems of servers and clients, and then when you want someone in your family to be able to use it, they just can't fathom out how on earth you've got all this sort of hooked up, because you've got so many hoops to get everything working. But I think in this case, it's nice and simple. You can load the Plex app, just browse the content and start playing it. And I think that's a big difference. I
agree with that. I agree on the Xbox One as being that kind of simple all-in-one. And my spouse actually, totally appreciates it as well, and loves it more when I start trying to use the gestures and looking like a maniac.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't quite mastered those yet, I will admit.
Yeah, I think that's we've all tried that. When I had it switched on, I only ever got it to pause when I was scratching my head or something. It never seemed to quite work right.
That's funny.
But it does sort of complete the picture for the Xbox One. It makes it so that any of the family can just pick up the controller and access the content. And my kids have been asking me now if I'll put some of their DVDs on the server now, because previously they couldn't be bothered. It was too complicated to mess about, get discs out, and so much effort to get a disc out. But yeah, now they want me to put the discs in the server and sort that out so that they can just browse them, and then of course they can pick up their Surface and their whatever devices they want to watch it on.
Yep, that's perfect.
You mentioned Xbox 360 as well, so that's coming soon, is it?
Yeah, our expectation is, sometime across the next couple of weeks. We're pushing hard. It's final last throes of development there.
And are you expecting the same sort of user interface as the Xbox One?
Very, very similar. There's a handful of things that are required on the 360, but generally speaking, it's very, very similar.
So the Xbox One version is just about video playback at the moment, isn't it?
Correct. So we've decided, and the Xbox 360 as well. It's what we find is that video is the hardest thing to get working on these platforms, to get it working well, and it's also probably the thing that people are most excited about when they get Plex support. So focused our efforts to get something out sooner than later. Focus our efforts on that. We'll probably do a maintenance release, pretty quickly here to resolve issues that were identified out there. And then we're going to turn all of our attention to getting music and photos into the app.
Yeah, I think the video makes sense because that's what you do, is connect to your TV.
Yep, exactly.
So, any listeners thinking about getting started with this, so there's a few things you've got to do, isn't it, to get on the Xbox One version, aside from just getting the server set up?
You're asking what needs to happen?
Yeah, what do you need to do? If I wanted to get started today, how would I get going so I can then watch it on the Xbox One?
Yeah, so grab the server, point it at your content, maybe, yeah, that's free. And then right now, the app on Xbox One is in what we call kind of this Plex Pass preview mode. You need to have a Plex Pass subscription to be able to access the app right now. It's one of the many benefits of subscribing to our premium service. And at some point in time, it will become an app that you can download for free and maybe trial, and then you could buy it for $5 and not require a Plex Pass. But for some period of time here, probably at least several months, it'll be in this Plex Pass mode. So you'll need a Plex Pass, and then after that, the device, that you install the app, and it should be able to, you'll pin into your account. You go to the website plex.tv and log into your account, and then type in your PIN, and it'll connect the Xbox One app to your account. And from there, it should be able to see your server, and you should be streaming.
Yeah, I pretty much found it worked straight away. I just made sure I got the latest version of the server, and
you'll need the latest version of the server that's available to Plex Pass users. Correct.
Yeah. And then it just connected automatically, and say all the content's there, and it's even got little icons to show you how much you've watched of each episode and stuff. It's a really nice experience.
Yeah, thank you very much. Worked hard to make it simple and fun.
Well, I think it's that, and it makes the Xbox One this all-in-one device that we wanted, because a lot of us, we have our own content on servers and NAS devices and whatever, and it's bringing that into the Xbox One onto the one device that's supposed to be doing everything for our entertainment. So it's what we needed.
Yeah.
So to wrap up then. So what's next for Plex? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we've got there's a number of new platforms that will, our goal is to add, before the holidays here. I promise you the elves are working very, very hard. and so there's new platform stuff, and then we've got some stuff that's kind of core platform work in the works as well that will benefit all platforms. We have probably 2 more major releases like that this year. If I talk about it right now, I'll get fired. So I can't. But we have 2 probably, if everything goes well here. We've got a lot of balls in the air, so we may end up seeing a ball or 2 move into next year, but hopefully not. 2 major platform releases that will benefit everybody. And so we're really looking forward to those. Some probably in the next, hopefully several weeks, I'll say. It's probably on the longer side of that, but you'll start to see some of that news come out.
Excellent. Well, I think, like I said, it's a fantastic platform. I've got it up and running now, and I've got many hours of my advice to bore my wife with, so she'll really appreciate that.
I can't wait to see a picture of you in your jacket.
Yeah. I've got the pink T-shirt ready. So so where do we go then to get the server and to find out all the info that we need?
Yep. So you can go to our website, which is plex.tv, plex.tv. There's a link at the top to download, so you can grab the server for your platform there. And you'll find the Xbox One app right now under new apps or most popular apps. You can also search for it in store.
Excellent. Well, I did a little video of it up and running on my system, so I'll include that link in the show notes, so you can have a look at that. And it was great to talk to you, Scott. And Scott, thanks for sorting that out. And maybe we'll catch up in the future and later, and we'll see what you're doing next.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Well, that's great. Thanks, guys. I really appreciated that.
Sure.
So what we'll do, we'll get this edited and we'll finish our show off, and then we'll get this edited up, and I'll send you the link over on Thursday when the show's live.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Well, great. Appreciated that, and I'll send you the link later in the week.
Thanks, all right, man. Take it easy. Cheers.
See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was good stuff, that, wasn't it?
Like that.
Yeah. It's a great system, and you can see from the video that I've got this working pretty well now, and I do really like the fact that you can. So I've been using my server here, just putting a disk in, and there goes another one. So I've got disk 28 or something to do next. But that I can put the content in, and then the metadata's all brought down, and then I can go to the Plex app on Windows. In fact, I've been using it on a Windows 10 test machine at work, and there's all the content, so I can watch any of my videos on there. So it works really nice. It's a pretty sophisticated system, and a pretty good forum as well, and user community around it. Yes,
there definitely are. I've been playing with it a little bit myself the last couple of weeks, because it seems to be the one which is gaining more traction, perhaps so even more than just the basic XBMC. Or whatever we're calling it these days, Cody.
Yeah, Cody, yeah.
It just definitely seems to be something about Plex which seems to have caught the imagination of not just enthusiasts, but more generally. I mean, that point about the Samsung TV, and to actually get on that Samsung TV platform is a major achievement. Similarly with the Xbox One, and I think that's it's definitely. I mean, it is the killer feature for them that they're on so many platforms.
Yeah.
So yeah, really good stuff. I mean, I know some people sort of rail against the subscription model, but they've got to pay the bills somehow.
Yes, and I was going to say, actually, I wonder whether the reason why they're having sort of wins on Xbox and Samsung TV is because they've got the money coming in. I mean, we all love the free stuff, and it's back to almost to the debate we had about Media Center, wasn't it? Where the revenue comes from, and if there is no revenue, then why continue with it? And there are other great platforms out there like Media Browser, which is a fantastic system, and that is a great community behind it. But they probably find it harder to reach into some of the big companies like Samsung and Microsoft because they just haven't got the same business model behind them.
Yeah, and that's it. You've got to spend time on those things. You've got to spend time and money to keep those relationships up there, and it's a challenge. But they are doing extremely well at it, and I hope they continue.
Yeah, and I think perhaps there is a niche area for media enthusiasts who have their own content, because not everybody does, and but the people that do tend to be pretty passionate about it and perhaps are willing to pay that small amount, or I think it was $100 for a lifetime, or $40 or $50, something like that, for a year for Plex Pass. But you don't even have to have that. I mean, you can get going for free, and you can use the browser version and the Windows. I think the Windows Store version was a couple of quid, but you can basically get going for free if you want to give it a try. So I think their business model is interesting, because that's one thing I always think about. These systems is they're great and we're all using them, but if there's not a business model behind them, then you wonder about the longevity of them. But it's great to have the choice as well. Multiple.
Yeah, I've got things Plex are going to be here for a while.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think as suggested by a listener last week, wasn't it, that we should look at these other platforms, and maybe we'll do sort of Media Browser next and go through sort of the various options. But I have to say I've been pretty impressed with it so far. I mean, I've been talking about the DVD ripping part. That's actually done by the Vidabox server that's doing the actual DVD auto ripping using using their software, which is a combination of my movies and whatever. So it's not all the Media Browser, it's the Plex part, but the combination of the two has made it just put the disc in, and an hour later it's ready to watch. Yeah, which is excellent. Yeah. So, and a good range of platforms. So, a link for the video that I recorded showing the Xbox One in the show notes. So we've just got we know Jason tonight. We're giving the night off.
Yeah, he's gone running somewhere. I don't know what is he doing. I can't think what we can think of for Jason to be doing tonight.
I think he was. He's getting very excited about the next Apple event, isn't he?
Oh, that'll be it. Yeah, he'd be off to get his new iPad.
Yeah. So it'll be actually, when is the Apple? It's this week, isn't it?
It is this week. Yeah. So he's probably flying out to be first in the queue.
He's in the queue somewhere in Regent Street store in London or whatever, waiting for his new iPad. Right, so we've got a couple of things to talk about. We've still got time this week, so let's start off with an interesting one from Microsoft last week. We've been talking about Surface and the future of Surface, and Microsoft did a sort of an interesting thing that they sort of posted their commitment to the Surface Pro range and the Surface Pro range of accessories. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was sort of quite a strange thing to do, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that they wrote a blog post about how the Surface Pro was here to stay, and the Surface Pro 3 accessories will be compatible with the next Surface Pro. They didn't specify, but you guess it would be the Surface Pro 4. But that they're talking about the docking station, the pen, the keyboard, I guess, and all that kind of thing. So they were really saying, as far as business is concerned, Surface Pro 3 is here to stay.
Yeah, which is what a lot of businesses want to hear, I think, if they're going to invest in it. But they didn't really mention the consumer side.
No,
so which led to a lot of stories about RT must be dead. There's always these amazing assumptions that things are never going to be around.
Yeah, well,
we don't have to mention.
The week started, I think, with rumours that all the Surface ranges were being killed, which is why the blog post was there. But it was kind of telling that they only then singled out the Pro devices. But I've got to say, I've been getting a lot of, you get sort of pick up on the vibe that I think the Surface Pro 3 is doing pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of non-enthusiasts that I'm sort of mainly friends and family on Facebook that you tend to see are picking up Surface Pro 3s as a replacement for laptops. So, not enthusiasts like us who want sort of these devices, but they're actually just getting them as a straight replacement. So I think that's pretty good. But and Microsoft then confirming that, I think that's good as well. I mean, just the fact that things like the docking station will be carried over. I mean, I don't think I've ever at work we buy lots of laptops, and I don't think we've ever had one model to the next that has the same docking station. Even two HP models never have the same ones, do they?
That is so unusual, and a really big selling point. I would think.
I mean, we're paying, I don't know, sometimes you pay £100 for a docking station, and I personally try and avoid them now because you can never get one that works twice, for the next model or whatever. But so I think that's good. But like you said, they never mentioned the consumer Surface in that blog post. Was it that there's a reason behind that, or was it just that it was a business focused post?
No, I think it's just because it's a business-focused post, but a lot of people were reading into it that this was the end of RT, etc., etc. So, and they haven't sort of really counteracted that.
No, but there was a rumor that earlier that week as well that there is a Surface 3 announcement due, but it's been pretty quiet. I think that was from one source, and I've not seen anything else since then.
No, and that's definitely rumorville, but interesting. I mean, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be RT.
No, they could bring out a consumer one, couldn't they? Surface 3 that's an Intel bump. Nothing to stop them doing a Surface Pro, a cut down Surface Pro, a smaller Surface Pro 3.
No, indeed, and but then would that discriminate them from all the other ones which are on the market now, the Toshiba's and things we've been looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the rumor and I thought it was a bit of odd timing, really, because I'm not sure it's a good time to bring out a new Surface. It would seem to be better to bring it out with Windows 10 and to see the new tablet UI.
Yeah, and the Continuum stuff on it, that would make much more sense to me, to be honest. But sometimes, I mean, it could be the fact that the iPads are coming out. It could be something like that they're talking up. It might be they actually are going to launch it prior to the holidays, so it could be out. It would have to be out in the next couple of weeks, which would be interesting. But I can't really see it, to be honest.
It's the right time now, isn't it, to sort of marketing?
Yeah, it's
out for Christmas.
Yeah, you need out now. You need out next week or.
Yeah.
So actually have it available in the market before the end of October, really, to be hit the. So I can't really see that happening, but then again, that's probably what Apple are about to do. So,
but interesting that I've been watching the Microsoft Store, and for a while they dropped the price of the 32 gig model down to $249, and then they sold out of that. But then the 64 gig has been sold out, and for a while the LTE version's been sold out. Although I think they're back in stock now, but you can't get them on Amazon, John Lewis, PC World have withdrawn them off the shelves. I'm talking about the Surface 2 here. So there aren't really any Surface 2s around to be sold, and I wondered whether that was because they just sold out and ready for the next inventory.
Mm-hmm.
But a colleague at work was after a Surface 2, and a non-techie colleague who just wandered into John Lewis and asked for a Surface 2 because he'd seen mine, and they was told that Microsoft have withdrawn them because of charging problems.
Yeah,
and I thought that sounded like a sales spin as they tried to sell them a HP one, I think, instead. I don't know, but it's a funny thing, isn't it? That they said, but then I think I've heard of someone else say it as well. So I'm not sure whether that's just a spin because they've sold out, or is that true? Have they withdrawn the Surface 2 because of power supply problems? I'm sat here now chugging away.
Yeah, but if you've got Surface Pro, I mean, if that was the case, then they'd have to put a recall out for the power supply. So I don't know, unless they can't get power supplies, maybe that's it. Or they don't want to make any more of those because they're not going to make that connector anymore.
Maybe something like that. It just seemed a bit of a strange thing for someone in PC World to say, or I think it was John Lewis to say, that they don't charge properly or something like that. But I always, you always treat these things with a pinch of salt when anybody else trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. We'll stay with the Surface, but I went into PC World and had a look myself. And the Pro 3 is a fantastic device, I've got to say. And had I not already had a decent laptop at work, that would be my device of choice.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right, what else do I want to talk about this week? Oh yeah, the Sonos. We talked about Sonos a while ago, dropping the requirements for their own network, wireless network, so that they can use your own network. But today they've launched their Sonos Boost. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I haven't seen that. What's that all about?
So the Sonos Boost is effectively it's a bigger version of the Bridge. So with Sonos now, you don't have to have your own separate network, your own Sonos network, effectively. So previously, you had to have a Bridge connected to your router, and then or you had to use Ethernet. But they dropped the requirements for that, so you could just use your normal Wi-Fi. So most people's Wi-Fi is pretty good now, so that wasn't an issue. But if you have wireless dropouts or not brilliant Wi-Fi, then they've got this new product called the Boost, which you just plug into your router. It works like the Bridge did, and it creates a dedicated Sonos network, a wireless network for your Sonos devices to connect to.
All right.
So it's £79. So I don't know if you're struggling to get wireless working, maybe this is an option. But I don't know if you've got problems with wireless in your home, you generally would try and sort that out first, wouldn't you? Before and get, because other devices might need the wireless. But if you're really bothered about getting good streaming and no dropouts and things, then I suppose this is an option.
Yeah.
And the apps have been updated as well, but to work with that. Right, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, did you see there's a new user interface for the desktop version of Skype? In fact, I'm on it now.
Yes, yeah, and that looks all right. And they've also updated the Mac version as well. Though I haven't had a download for that yet, but
not a huge amount of difference. It's sort of a nice flatter UI, and it's just a bit clearer. I mean, actually, Skype's a lot better now than it used to be. I remember when we used to really complain about the UI being a complete mess on Skype.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially when I couldn't end a call because the button wasn't visible or things like that, But it's a lot better now. But this new Skype looks a nice flatter one, and it's got the messaging, hasn't it? It's more focused on, I think, messaging now, really, isn't it, than it was.
Yeah, it does seem to be, which is good. Because I think for the desktop user, I mean, making calls, yeah, that always works and it's pretty fine. But actually, the messaging side of it wasn't particularly good before.
Yeah,
and does appear to be now.
In fact, I've not done a post on this, but do you see the new Skype app, Skype Quick?
I heard about it, but I don't really know much about it. So what's that as well?
So this is a new app from Skype that they launched today for mobile devices only, so iOS, Android, and Windows Phone. Mm-hmm. And you don't need a Skype account or a Microsoft account. You use your phone number. So that's the only information that it sort of collects from you. So you install the app, you give it wants to know your phone number, and it verifies that by sending you a text message to make sure that is your number. And then you can send video messages up to 42 seconds long. I like the length there, 42. But you just it uses the front-facing camera, you send a message, quick message, and off it goes. And then the other person then can send a quick response. And I think after 2 weeks, it wipes the messages as well. So it's kind of an auto cleanup. But it's effectively, I think they're trying to sell it as a video version of a text message. The quick, instant, quick message. You don't have to sign into any special service. It just goes. And if the other person doesn't have the app, it sends them a text message with the link to get the app as well. So, and again, they don't have to sign up to view your message. They can just do it through the verification. So, an interesting device. I guess it's not aimed at us. I think it's more probably aimed at kids, younger kids, young kids and teenagers, whatever, sending messages to each other. Although I did show my 12-year-old who didn't seem that impressed with it. So, but then again, in 12 months' time, you might find that's what they're using all the time. But it's quite interesting. Skype launch a new app. I mean, it's the first new sort of thing from them for a while. I think Quick was actually a product that they bought. It was a video streaming product, I seem to remember, a bit like a live streaming type thing.
Yeah,
I think we may have even used it once or twice.
That's an interesting way of going, isn't it?
Simple.
Simple, yeah.
All right. What else have we got? Let's have a look. Oh, Jason might have wanted to talk about this one, but because he sent me the link, but we could talk about it anyway. So launching a new streaming set-top box.
Yes, I saw that. So because they're quite one of the bigger broadband providers now as well, aren't they? So
yeah,
going down the BT route where the BT had their BT Sport stuff, they're coming up with their own set-top box idea, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think
it's really, I guess
it's essentially a Freeview HD PVR, isn't it? But what's different, or they say is different about this, is it supports, I think, 3 mobile devices at once. It's got 4 DVB-T2 tuners in it.
Yeah, really good bit of kit actually in that respect.
Yeah, and then you can then take your tablet and go and watch one of those live stream or recorded TV. It's a soft sled extender. In a box, which I think is quite a nice idea. I suspect it's only Android or iOS at the moment, but from the pictures anyway, that's what it seemed.
Yeah, I think so. They don't seem to have anything else. But it's I mean, obviously, it's a key. It's for them. They want to increase the usage of their network for data use and get some more money off people. So
yeah, and I don't think it's particularly dear if you're an EE subscriber. I think you actually get it free, don't you? I think if you
but obviously you're still paying for your data. And everything like that. No, I think it's pretty clever. So
one of the things Jason said that it did that I didn't actually talk about was that it's doing some kind of 24-hour recording, so it may be recording things for you without sort of you prompting it to, and then they're there available.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, if you've got 4 tuners, then it's sort of grabbing all that stuff. So, and then you find you miss Coronation Street, you can, it's there.
Yep.
What else? Oh, a bit of an update for Chromecast. That's now got some personalization options. I must admit, I don't really use my Chromecast very much. It's actually plugged into the HDMI port on my Xbox One for testing purposes, but I don't really do a huge amount with that. Although I could now use Plex on it, I suppose.
Yes, you could. Excellent idea.
So I might just stick it in one of the kids' TVs, and that's the interesting thing that they've now asked me about it. So they like the idea because they spend a lot of time on Netflix, but they've got their own stuff as well, and they've got surfaces, so they can't plug a DVD in there. So that is actually a good use for the Plex for them. Okay, final one. So some iPlayer stuff, some BBC iPlayer has been updated. Now supports the 30-day stuff for the radio.
Yeah,
I think the TV isn't it? It's a 30-day window for TV as well.
I think so. I'm not totally certain.
Yeah, I think they are changing it, aren't they? I think they're expanding the 30-day window for TV. So just through the BBC to the iPlayer website, you can now watch 30 days of stuff, which I think is a good idea because it's annoying when you you get into a series and you realize that you're on you're quite enjoying it, and then you think, oh, I've already missed 2 of them or whatever. So
catch up those first 2. Yeah. That would work.
Yeah.
30 days is a good compromise. I mean, I know they have to have some limits on it. But 30 days is a reasonably good compromise.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so I think that's all the things that I wanted to go through tonight. So thanks to Scott from Plex for talking to us. I think that's it's an interesting system, and that you can get going with it for free. So give it a try, and then you only really need to start the pass if you wanted to get some of the newer devices supported or do the cloud stuff. I think it was £2.99 or something like that for the Windows version, but it's a universal app, so it works on Windows Phone and the Xbox One. Sorry, and Windows 8.1. But the web browser is pretty good as well, so that all works from the free version. So it's definitely worth investigating. And like I said, it's great to have all these systems, and kind of makes you wonder what your Microsoft could have done.
Yeah, indeed.
They were the pioneers in many respects.
Yeah.
Right, so we should be back Tuesday evening next week. Maybe Jason will be back with his new iGadget, whatever he's got. He's queuing up there. I think he went with his flask and his tent.
That sounds likely.
Yeah, I've now got 32 discs of Miami Vice to watch. So the kids haven't got any of their DVDs ripped yet because I'm still doing my Vice collection. So I shall don my light coloured jacket, pink T-shirt, and deck shoes, and go and watch Miami Vice.
Excellent. Have fun.
Thanks, Gary. Oh, Gary, give us your links. We forgot your links.
Oh yeah, of course. So you can find me at Fascinating Tech, new issue out, and at Gary WMA on Twitter.
Excellent. I'll include a link to Fascinating Tech in the show notes. So a new issue coming out, is there?
Yeah, it should be out by the time people. I know I said that last week, but we had a server issue, so hopefully it will be out this week. And lots of fabulous new stuff. Great debate on smartwatches, which is really quite interesting. Sort of three very differing opinions on the whole smartwatch thing, which I thoroughly enjoyed reading, let alone contributing to. Feature on IFA and quite a few reviews as well. So well worth having a look at.
Excellent. Right, well that's it, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.